The morning sun cast long shadows across the settlement of New Haven as Sarah Chun ran through the dusty streets. Her backpack bounced against her small shoulders as she hurried toward the school building. At 8 years old, she was one of the youngest children in the human colony on Kepler-442b. Commander Vexthal watched the primitive settlement from his command ship hovering high above the clouds. The Zephyrian Empire had ruled most of the galaxy for over 3,000 years. They maintained their power through fear and careful displays of strength. When they discovered new species trying to expand into space, they made examples of them. The humans were no different from dozens of other young races the Empire had encountered. Their technology was laughably simple. They used basic metal ships powered by chemical rockets. Their weapons fired solid projectiles instead of energy beams. Their communications barely reached beyond their own solar system. "Sir, should we begin the demonstration?" asked Lieutenant Castor, his scaled fingers hovering over the weapon controls. Vexthal studied the readings from their sensors. The human settlement had maybe 5,000 people. Their defenses consisted of a few guard towers with primitive kinetic weapons. No energy shields, no plasma cannons, no orbital defense platforms. "Begin," Vexthal ordered. Standard intimidation protocol. Destroy their communications array first. Then target their defensive structures. Leave the civilian areas intact for now. We want survivors to spread word of Imperial power. The first plasma bolt struck the communication dish on the hill above. New Haven. The metal structure melted into glowing slag within seconds. Sarah Chun looked up from her desk as the flash lit up the classroom windows. "What was that?" asked Tommy Rodriguez, the boy sitting next to her. Their teacher, Mrs. Patterson, moved to the window. She had been one of the first volunteers for the colony mission. Like all the adults, she knew this day might come. The frontier was dangerous. Other species controlled most of space. "Children, please move away from the windows," she said calmly. Her hand reached for the emergency beacon on her desk. The second plasma bolt hit the main guard tower. The explosion shook the ground. Sarah felt the vibrations through her feet. Some of the younger children started crying. "Under your desks, everyone," Mrs. Patterson ordered. She pressed the activation button on the emergency beacon. The device would record everything happening in the school and transmit it back to Earth if possible. High above, Lieutenant Castor targeted the second guard tower. His aim was perfect. The plasma beam cut through the structure like a knife through paper. Human defenders scattered from the wreckage. "Excellent work," Vexthal said. "Now target their power station. Once they lose electricity, they will understand how helpless they are." But Castor was young for an Imperial officer. He had never participated in a demonstration before. The excitement of real combat made his hands shake slightly. When he fired at the power station, his aim drifted just a few degrees to the left. The plasma bolt meant for the power station struck the school. Instead, Sarah Chun was crawling under her desk when the wall exploded inward. The blast threw her across the room. She hit the far wall hard and crumpled to the floor. Around her, the classroom filled with smoke and fire. Mrs. Patterson dragged herself toward the emergency beacon. Her legs were broken, but she could still reach the device. Blood ran down her face as she activated the recording function. "This is New Haven Colony on Kepler-442b, she gasped into the beacon. "We are under attack by unknown alien forces. The school has been hit. We have casualties." Sarah tried to stand up. Her left arm hung at a wrong angle. She could taste blood in her mouth. The smoke made it hard to breathe. Other children were crying somewhere in the burning room. "Mommy?" Sarah called out weakly. "Mommy, where are you?" Mrs. Patterson crawled toward the sound of Sarah's voice. The little girl was trapped under a fallen beam. Her injuries looked serious. "I'm here, sweetie," Mrs. Patterson said. Your mommy will be here soon. But they both knew that wasn't true. Sarah's mother worked in the engineering section on the other side of the settlement. The aliens were still firing at the colony's defenses. No one could reach the school. "It hurts," Sarah whispered. "It hurts so much." Mrs. Patterson held the emergency beacon close to Sarah's face. The device would record the child's words and beam them toward Earth at light speed. Maybe someone would hear them. Maybe someone would remember. "I know, baby," Mrs. Patterson said. "Just close your eyes. Think about something happy." Sarah tried to smile. "Will you tell my mommy I was brave?" "You are the bravest little girl I know," Mrs. Patterson said. Tears ran down her cheeks, mixing with the blood and smoke. On the command ship, Vexthal studied the damage reports. "Acceptable losses," he noted. "The demonstration is complete. Set course for the next system." Lieutenant Castor looked troubled. "Sir, the weapon strike hit their school building instead of the power station. There may have been children inside." Vexthal waved a clawed hand dismissively. "Collateral damage is expected during demonstrations. Record the incident and move on." In the burning school, Sarah Chun spoke her last words into the emergency beacon. "Mommy, I love you. I wanted to be an engineer like you when I grow up. I wanted to help build more colonies in the stars." Her voice grew weaker. "Why did they hurt us?" "We never did anything to them." The beacon continued recording until the school's roof collapsed. But by then, its final transmission was already racing through space toward Earth. The message would take 4 years to reach home. But when it did, it would change everything. The Zephyrian Empire had just made the worst mistake in their 3,000-year history. They had killed a human child and left evidence behind. They had no idea what that simple act would cost them. In the settlement below, Sarah's mother ran through the burning streets toward the school. She was too late. The building was already gone, collapsed into smoking rubble. She fell to her knees in the dust and screamed her daughter's name at the alien ships, disappearing into the sky. But Sarah was already dead, her small body buried under tons of debris. And somewhere in space, racing toward Earth at the speed of light, her final words carried a message that would bring down an empire. 4 years later, the emergency beacon's message reached Earth during a routine meeting of the United Terran Defense Council. Dr. Elena Vasquez was reviewing colony supply requests when her assistant burst into the conference room. "Director, we have an emergency transmission from Kepler 442b, the young man said. His face was pale. "You need to hear this immediately." Elena looked around the table at the other council members. Representatives from every major Earth government sat in the windowless room deep beneath Geneva. They had been planning humanity's next wave of colonial expansion. "Play the message," Elena said. The speakers crackled with static. Then Mrs. Patterson's voice filled the room, weak but clear. "This is New Haven Colony on Kepler 442b. We are under attack by unknown alien forces. The school has been hit. We have casualties." The council members leaned forward in their chairs. First contact with hostile aliens was always a possibility. They had protocols for this situation, but then Sarah Chun's voice came through the speakers. Small and scared and dying. "Mommy? Mommy, where are you? It hurts. It hurts so much." Elena felt something cold settle in her stomach. Around the table, hardened military officers and seasoned diplomats stared at the speakers in horror. Sarah's voice continued. "Will you tell my mommy I was brave? Mommy, I love you. I wanted to be an engineer like you when I grow up. I wanted to help build more colonies in the stars. Why did they hurt us? We never did anything to them." Then silence. Elena reached over and turned off the recording. The room stayed quiet for a long moment. Finally, Admiral James Harrison spoke. He was a tall man with gray hair and scars on his hands from his early days as a combat pilot. "How long ago did this happen?" he asked quietly. 4 years, sir. The transmission just reached us." Another council member, General Yu Wei from the Chinese Space Force, cleared his throat. "We should send a rescue mission immediately." "It's too late for rescue," Elena said. "Our people are dead. All of them." She had helped plan the New Haven colony herself. She knew the settlement couldn't survive an attack like the one described in the transmission. "Admiral." Harrison stood up and walked to the large display screen showing Earth's colonial territories. 23 settled worlds, each marked with a green dot. Kepler 442b had turned red. "The aliens think they made an example of us," he said. "They have no idea what they actually did." Elena frowned. "What do you mean?" Harrison turned to face the council. "Ladies and gentlemen, I need to tell you about Protocol Omega." The room became very still. Most of the council members had never heard that designation before. For the past 30 years, since we first detected signs of intelligent life in the galaxy, we have been preparing for exactly this scenario, Harrison continued. "The peaceful exploration fleet you think we've been building? The commercial vessels trading between our colonies? The research stations studying distant stars?" He pressed a button on his tablet. The display screen changed to show Earth's solar system. Hundreds of new contacts appeared, marked in blue. "They're all weapons platforms." Elena stared at the screen. "That's impossible. I oversee the civilian space program. I would know about military installations." "You knew about the ones you were supposed to know about," Harrison said. "The hidden shipyards are built inside asteroids. The weapons platforms look like commercial freight haulers. The research stations are actually military communication relays." General Yu leaned forward. "How many ships are we talking about?" 12,000 combat vessels, fully crewed and ready for immediate deployment. Another 30,000 automated platforms throughout human space. Every single colony world has hidden defensive installations that the colonists don't even know about. The French representative, Minister Dubois, shook her head. "This is madness." "Why wasn't the council informed?" "Because the council would have tried to stop it," Harrison said bluntly. "Politicians want to negotiate. Diplomats want to find peaceful solutions. But some problems can only be solved with overwhelming force." Elena was still staring at the display. "You've been planning to fight a galactic war this entire time?" "No," Harrison said. "We've been planning to win one." He walked back to the conference table and placed his hands on the surface. "The aliens who attacked New Haven made a critical error. They left survivors. Those survivors told us which direction their ships went when they left. Our deep space monitoring stations tracked their energy signatures." Elena felt a chill run down her spine. "You know where they came from? We know where they are. The Zephyrian Empire. They control about 70% of known space. 3,000 worlds. Maybe 1 trillion citizens." General Yu spoke carefully. "Admiral, you're talking about genocide." Harrison turned to face him. "They fired on a school. They killed children. They recorded a little girl dying and didn't even have the decency to feel ashamed about it." He pressed another button. Sarah Chun's picture appeared on the screen. It was from the colony records, showing a smiling 8-year-old girl with dark hair and bright eyes. "Her name was Sarah Chun," Harrison said. "She wanted to be an engineer. She wanted to help build more colonies in the stars. She asked why they hurt her people when humans had never done anything to them." The room was silent again. "The Zephyrian Empire is about to learn why that was the wrong question to ask," Harrison continued. "The correct question is, what happens when you kill a human child and leave evidence behind?" Elena looked around the table. The other council members seemed stunned by the revelation of Earth's secret military preparation. but she could see something else in their faces. Anger. Cold, terrible anger. "What do you need from us?" she asked quietly. Harrison smiled, but there was no warmth in it. "I need you to authorize Protocol Omega. Full deployment. Total war. Against an empire of 1 trillion people? Against anyone who thinks killing our children is acceptable," Harrison said. "The Zephyrians want to rule the galaxy through fear? Let's show them what real fear looks like." Elena thought about Sarah Chun's voice, small and scared and brave. She thought about all the other colonies spread across human space. All the other children who might face the same fate if Earth didn't respond. All in favor of authorizing Protocol Omega? She asked. Every hand around the table went up. Admiral Harrison nodded grimly. "Then may God have mercy on their souls. Because we won't." Within hours, activation codes went out to every hidden military installation in human space. The peaceful exploration fleet began its transformation into the most dangerous military force the galaxy had ever seen. The hunt was about to begin. Admiral Kethfer of the Zephyrian Third Fleet stared at the empty space where Patrol Group 7 should have been. His sensor operators had detected the group ships just 6 hours ago. Now there was nothing but debris and radiation. "Status report," he ordered from his command chair aboard the battleship Eternal Glory. 16 vessels destroyed. "Sir," reported his tactical officer. "No survivors detected. No distress signals received. The debris pattern suggests they were hit by kinetic impactors moving at significant fractions of light speed." Keffer frowned. In his 40 years of Imperial service, he had never seen destruction like this. The debris field stretched across thousands of kilometers. Whatever had hit the patrol group had torn the ships apart at the molecular level. Any sign of the attackers? "No, sir. No energy signatures. No engine trails. Whoever did this disappeared without a trace." This was the third patrol group to vanish in the past month. All in the same sector of space near the frontier worlds. All destroyed by the same method. Kinetic weapons fired from unknown positions. Kethfer had fought against dozens of species during his career. He knew their tactics and technologies. Energy weapons left distinctive signatures. Missile attacks created different debris patterns. But these attacks were unlike anything in the Imperial database. "Sir," called his communications officer. "Priority transmission from Imperial Command." The main display activated, showing the stern face of Fleet Admiral Tysander. Her scaled features looked troubled. "Admiral Kethfer, report your findings." "The pattern continues, Fleet Admiral," Kethfer said. Patrol Group 7 was destroyed by unknown kinetic weapons. The attackers remain undetected. "That makes 37 ships lost in the past month," Tysander said grimly. "Emperor Thaxlon is demanding answers." "Do we know who is responsible?" Kethfer hesitated. The timing was suspicious. The attacks had started shortly after the demonstration at the human colony world. But humans were a primitive species with basic technology. "The attacks began after our pacification of the human settlement on Kepler 442b, he said carefully. "However, human technology is far too primitive for weapons of this sophistication." "Perhaps they have allies," Tysander suggested. "Other species who object to imperial expansion." Before Kethfer could respond, his tactical officer shouted a warning. "Contact." Multiple projectiles inbound, bearing 27 Mark IV. "All ships, evasive maneuvers." Kethfer ordered. "Return fire." But there was nothing to fire at. The enemy weapons appeared from empty space, moving too fast for Imperial sensors to track their origin. Kethfer watched in horror as tungsten rods, the size of telephone poles, slammed into his escort ships. The destroyer Crimson Blade took a direct hit amidships. The kinetic energy tore through its armor like paper and broke the ship in half. Atmosphere and debris exploded outward as the two sections spun away into space. Where are they firing from? Kethver demanded. Unknown, sir. The projectiles are coming from multiple vectors. I'm reading at least 12 different launch points, but our sensors show empty space. Another kinetic strike hit the cruiser Dark Justice. This time, Kethver saw the weapon clearly. A simple metal rod moving at 20% of light speed. No guidance system. No warhead. Just mass and velocity turned into a weapon of incredible destruction. Sir, I'm detecting a transmission, his communications officer reported. It's being broadcast on all frequencies, on screen. The display showed a human male in a dark military uniform. He had graying hair and cold blue eyes. Behind him, tactical displays showed the positions of every ship in Kethver's fleet. I am Captain Marcus Webb of the United Terran Defense Force, the human said. You are in violation of human territorial space. Withdraw immediately. Kethver activated his response transmitter. This is Admiral Kethver of the Zephyrian Imperial Fleet. You are addressing a superior military force. Surrender immediately or face destruction. The human smiled, but his eyes remained cold. Admiral, you have already been destroyed. You just don't know it yet. Warning alarms filled the bridge as more kinetic strikes hit the fleet. The battlecruiser Iron Fist exploded in a ball of plasma as its reactor core breached. The heavy cruiser Stormlord lost its forward section to another tungsten rod. Sir, we need to retreat. Kethver's tactical officer called out. We can't fight an enemy we can't see. But retreat was impossible. The human weapons came from every direction. No matter which way Kethver's ships turned, more projectiles appeared from the darkness. The humans had positioned their weapons platforms throughout the system, hidden and waiting. Admiral Kethver, Captain Webb said over the communication channel. 4 years ago, your forces attacked a human settlement on Kepler 442b. During that attack, you killed civilians. You killed children. Kethver remembered the incident. A routine demonstration against primitive colonists. Standard imperial procedure. That was illegal military action against an unauthorized settlement, he replied. You killed an 8-year-old girl named Sarah Chun, Webb continued. She died in a school that your forces destroyed. Her last words were recorded and transmitted to Earth. Another kinetic strike destroyed the escort carrier Wing of Victory. Kethver's fleet was being systematically eliminated by an enemy he couldn't even locate. What do you want? Kethver asked desperately. Justice, Webb said simply. The Zephyrian Empire believes it can rule the galaxy through fear. You demonstrate your power by killing innocents. Today, you learn what happens when you kill the wrong innocents. The tactical display showed only 3 Imperial ships still functional. The rest of the fleet was debris, scattered across space by weapons that had appeared from nowhere. This is impossible, Kethver muttered. Your species is primitive. Your technology is basic. You made a common mistake, Admiral, Webb said. You confused peaceful with harmless. Humans have been preparing for this war since we first detected your empire. We've been watching you, learning your tactics, positioning our forces. Your forces? Where are your ships? All around you, Webb replied. Hidden in the asteroid fields. Disguised as commercial vessels. Drifting silent and cold in the space between stars. For 30 years, we've been building the largest military force in galactic history. And you gave us the perfect reason to use it. The final kinetic strikes destroyed Kethver's remaining escorts. Only the Eternal Glory remained, its weapons useless against an invisible enemy. I offer you a choice, Admiral, Webb said. You can die here with your ship, or you can return to your empire with a message. Kethver's pride warred with his survival instinct. What message? Tell your emperor that humanity is coming. Tell him we remember Sarah Chun. Tell him that every Imperial citizen will pay for her death." The communication channel closed. Kethver found himself alone with his damaged ship in a field of wreckage that had once been a proud Imperial fleet. His navigation officer spoke quietly. "Sir, we're receiving departure vectors. The humans are letting us go." Kethver stared at the tactical display. 37 Imperial ships destroyed in this system alone. Hundreds more lost throughout the frontier. And the enemy remained invisible, untouchable, impossible to fight. He had delivered news of military defeats before. But this was different. This wasn't a battle between equal forces. This was extermination, carried out with cold efficiency by an enemy that had been planning humanity's revenge for 4 long years. "Set course for Imperial Center," he ordered. "Maximum speed." As the eternal glory limped away from the killing ground, Kethver composed his report to the Emperor. But how could he explain that a primitive species had just declared war on the greatest empire in galactic history? And worse, how could he explain that they were winning? Emperor Thaxlon stood before the assembled war council in the crystal throne room on Zephyr Prime. The massive chamber could hold 10,000 beings. But today only 50 of the Empire's highest military commanders were present. They represented the largest military force ever gathered in galactic history. "Admiral Kethver," the Emperor said, his voice echoing through the crystal walls. "Tell the council what you witnessed." Kethver stepped forward, still bearing the marks of his encounter with the human forces. A scar ran across his scaled forehead where debris had struck him during the attack. "Your Imperial Majesty, the humans are not what we believe them to be," he began. "They possess military technology far beyond our intelligence estimates. Their weapons appear from nowhere. Their ships remain invisible to our sensors. In 6 months of warfare, we have destroyed exactly 0 human vessels." Grand Admiral Tysander leaned forward in her chair. "How is that possible?" "Our intelligence reports show primitive human technology. Chemical rockets, kinetic weapons, basic communications. Those reports were deliberately false," Kethver said. "The humans allowed us to see what they wanted us to see. Their real military force has been hidden throughout the galaxy for decades." Emperor Thaxlon's eyes narrowed. "How many ships do they have?" "We estimate at least 15,000 combat vessels, Your Majesty. Possibly more. They appear to have weapons platforms positioned in every major star system within Imperial space." The War Council erupted in shocked murmurs. 15,000 ships was larger than any fleet the Empire had ever assembled. "Silence," the Emperor commanded. "Continue your report, Admiral." Kethver activated a holographic display showing the galactic map. Red zones marked areas where Imperial forces had been attacked. "In the past 6 months, we have lost over 800 ships," he said. "The humans strike without warning, destroy entire fleets, then vanish before reinforcements arrive. They are not trying to capture territory. They are systematically destroying our ability to maintain control." Fleet Admiral Korthek, veteran of a dozen galactic campaigns, studied the display. "What are their strategic objectives?" "Revenge," Kethver said simply. "They call it justice for the death of a human child named Sarah Chun, the child who died during our demonstration on Kepler 442b. Emperor Thaxlon waved a clawed hand dismissively. "One primitive child? This cannot be about a single casualty. Your Majesty, I have monitored their communications. Every human ship broadcasts the same message before attacking. They play a recording of the child's final words, followed by a declaration that the Empire will pay for her death." The Emperor stood from his crystal throne and began pacing. "They seek to terrorize us with the voice of a dead child. Preposterous." "It appears to be working, Your Majesty," Kethver said quietly. Our frontier governors are abandoning their posts. Merchant vessels refuse to travel imperial trade routes. 3 client species have declared independence, citing fear of human retaliation. Grand Admiral Tysander activated her own tactical display. What do our intelligence services report about human homeworld defenses? That is where our situation becomes complicated, Kethver said. Our long-range scouts have reached the Sol system. They report only a few hundred ships defending Earth. Then we attack immediately. Fleet Admiral Korthek declared. Destroy their homeworld and end this insurgency. That was my recommendation as well, Kethver said. However, our xenopsychology experts have analyzed human behavioral patterns. They believe this is a trap. Emperor Thaxlon stopped pacing. Explain. Humans demonstrate unusual emotional attachment to their offspring, Kethver continued. The death of one child has motivated their entire species to wage total war. Our analysts believe they would not leave their homeworld vulnerable unless they had supreme confidence in their defenses. The War Council fell silent. The implications were disturbing. If the humans were confident enough to leave Earth apparently undefended while waging war across the galaxy, what weapons did they possess? Your Majesty, Grand Admiral Tysander said carefully, perhaps we should consider negotiation. Offer reparations for the child's death. Establish formal diplomatic relations. Emperor Thaxlon's eyes blazed with anger. The Zephyrian Empire does not negotiate with primitives. We have ruled this galaxy for 3,000 years. No upstart species will dictate terms to us. He turned to address the full War Council. Assemble the Grand Fleet, every available warship, every reserve squadron. We will crush the human homeworld and end this rebellion once and for all. Fleet Admiral Korthik stood and saluted. It shall be done, Your Majesty. How many ships? All of them, the Emperor said. 10,000 warships. 2 million crew members. The largest armada in galactic history. If the humans want to hide behind their homeworld defenses, we will demonstrate the true meaning of imperial power. Over the following weeks, warships from across the Empire converged on Zephyr Prime. Massive dreadnoughts arrived from the core worlds. Fast attack cruisers came from the rim territories. Support vessels, troop transports, and supply ships joined the growing fleet. Admiral Harrison watched the Imperial mobilization. From his command post on Luna, Earth's moon had been hollowed out decades ago to create the largest military command center in human space. Banks of monitors showed the movement of every Imperial ship in the galaxy. They're taking the bait, he reported to Director Vasquez via secure communication. The entire Zephyrian fleet is massing for an attack on Earth. Are you certain our defenses will hold? She asked. Harrison smiled grimly. Elena, they still don't understand what they're facing. They think this is about military victory. They think if they can destroy Earth, the war will end. Won't it? They're not attacking Earth, Harrison said. They're delivering themselves to the slaughter. Every Imperial warship in the galaxy will be in one location, exactly where we want them. On the tactical display, the Imperial Grand Fleet began its final approach to the Sol system. 10,000 of the most advanced warships ever built, carrying 2 million of the Empire's best soldiers. Admiral, his communications officer, called out. We're receiving a transmission from the Imperial fleet. They're demanding our surrender. Put it through, Harrison said. Emperor Thaxlon's image appeared on the main screen. The Zephyrian ruler sat on his portable throne aboard his flagship, the Infinite Glory. Humans, the Emperor said, you have caused considerable damage to Imperial forces. But your rebellion ends now. Surrender immediately, and your deaths will be swift. Harrison activated his response transmitter. Your Imperial Majesty, I am Admiral James Harrison, of the United Terran Defense Force. I have a message for you. Speak quickly, Primitive. My patience is limited. Harrison's expression hardened. 4 years ago, your forces attacked a peaceful human settlement. During that attack, Lieutenant Kashtar of the Imperial Navy fired on a school building. 8-year-old Sarah Chun died in that attack. One child's death does not justify this insurgency, the Emperor replied. Casualties are an acceptable cost of maintaining galactic order. That, Your Majesty, is where you are wrong, Harrison said. Sarah Chun was not an acceptable casualty. Her death was not justified. And the cost of her life is about to be paid in full. Harrison nodded to his communications officer. Every human ship in the Sol system began broadcasting the same transmission simultaneously. Sarah Chun's voice filled the communication channels, small and scared and dying. Mommy? Mommy, where are you? It hurts. It hurts so much. Why did they hurt us? We never did anything to them. Emperor Thaxlon's face twisted with disgust. You seek to weaken our resolve with the crying of a dead child. No, Harrison said quietly. We seek to show you the price of imperial arrogance. He pressed a single button on his command console. Throughout the Sol system, hidden weapons platforms came online. The merchant vessels drifting near Earth revealed their true nature. The research stations throughout the system activated their targeting systems. Your Majesty, Harrison said, you killed one human child. We're about to kill your entire empire. The exchange rate is non-negotiable. 6 months after the Battle of Sol, Director Elena Vasquez stood at the podium in the newly constructed Galactic Assembly Hall on the former Imperial capital world. Representatives from 400 species filled the massive chamber. The Zephyrian Empire was gone, its fleet destroyed, its territory divided among independent worlds. Fellow beings, Elena began, her voice carrying to every corner of the hall. We gather today to establish a new order in the galaxy. An order based on peace, not fear. Protection, not conquest. In the front row sat the surviving members of the former Imperial War Council. They were prisoners now, awaiting trial for crimes against humanity. Emperor Thaxlon was dead, killed when his flagship exploded during the battle at Earth. Elena looked out at the assembled delegates. Some were grateful for their liberation from imperial rule. Others were terrified of humanity's demonstrated military power. All of them understood that the galaxy had changed forever. The Zephyrian Empire ruled through intimidation, Elena continued. They maintained control by making examples of the weak. They believed that fear was the foundation of order. They were wrong. She activated the display screen behind her, showing images from the Battle of Sol. The Imperial Grand Fleet had arrived expecting to fight a few hundred human ships. Instead, they found themselves surrounded by thousands of weapons platforms that had been hidden throughout the Sol system for decades. The battle lasted 17 minutes, Elena said. 10,000 Imperial warships were destroyed. 2 million Imperial personnel died. The human casualties were 0. A murmur ran through the assembly. Even 6 months later, the scale of the Imperial defeat was hard to comprehend. Some of you have asked why humanity responded with such overwhelming force, Elena said. Why we didn't seek negotiation or diplomatic solutions. The answer is simple. The Empire killed our children and felt no shame. They recorded a little girl's dying words and dismissed her death as acceptable collateral damage. On the screen, Sarah Chen's school photograph appeared. The same image that had been broadcast by every human warship during the final battle. Her name was Sarah Chen, Elena said. She was 8 years old. She wanted to be an engineer. She wanted to help build more colonies in the stars. She died asking why strangers had hurt her when she had never done anything to them. The assembly hall fell silent. Many of the delegates had children of their own. They understood the human response, even if they feared it. The old empire believed that the strong should rule the weak, Elena continued. Humanity believes that the strong should protect the weak. That is the difference between tyranny and justice. Admiral Harrison entered the hall from a side door and joined Elena at the podium. He wore the simple dark uniform of the new Galactic Security Force. Behind him came Captain Marcus Webb and the other senior officers who had planned the Empire's destruction. The Galactic Security Force will enforce 3 simple rules, Harrison announced. First, no species may attack civilian populations. Second, no species may expand their territory through military conquest. Third, no species may threaten the existence of another intelligent race. He paused, letting his words sink in. Violation of these rules will result in immediate and total military response from human forces. There will be no warnings, no negotiations, no second chances. A delegate from the Andromedan Confederation raised a scaled hand. Admiral Harrison, what gives humanity the right to police the galaxy? Harrison's expression hardened. We tried leaving galactic affairs to others. The result was an empire that killed children for sport. Never again. Elena stepped forward. The human race did not seek this responsibility. It was forced upon us by the Empire's actions. But we will bear it faithfully. No other species will suffer as our colonists suffered. On the viewing screens, images appeared from across former Imperial space. Human warships patrolled trade routes, protecting merchant vessels. Human medical teams provided aid to worlds damaged during the Empire's fall. Human engineers helped rebuild infrastructure destroyed in the fighting. Humanity offers the galaxy a choice, Elena said. Peace through cooperation or peace through force. But there will be peace. In the months that followed, the new order took shape. Species that had been oppressed under imperial rule began to flourish. Trade routes reopened. Scientific cooperation flourished. But always, human ships watched from the darkness, ready to respond to any threat. On Kepler 442b, the rebuilt settlement of New Haven thrived. The memorial garden at the site of the old school drew visitors from across the galaxy. A simple stone marker bore Sarah Chun's name and a single inscription. Her death purchased the galaxy's future. Sarah's mother, now elderly, tended the memorial garden each day. Beings from dozens of species came to pay their respects to the child, whose death had changed everything. They brought flowers, left gifts, whispered prayers in 100 different languages. One day, a group of young Zephyrian children arrived with their teacher. They were refugees from the destroyed empire, raised on human worlds, educated in human schools. They spoke softly with the old woman who had lost her daughter so long ago. Mrs. Chun, one of the children asked, "Why do the humans protect us when our people hurt them?" Sarah's mother smiled sadly, because that's what Sarah would have wanted. She believed in helping others, in building a better future. The humans honor her memory by making sure no other child suffers as she did. High above, a human patrol ship maintained its silent watch. Captain Webb commanded the vessel, his hair now completely gray, but his resolve unchanged. He had been present at Sarah's death, had heard her final words through the emergency beacon. "Status report," he called out to his crew. "All quiet, Captain," his tactical officer replied. No military buildups detected. No aggressive movements by any species. Webb nodded. It had been 5 years since the Empire's fall. 5 years of galactic peace enforced by human vigilance. Some called it tyranny. Others called it justice. Webb called it necessary. "Sir," his communications officer said, "we're receiving a priority transmission from Earth." The message was brief, but significant. Another human colony ship was departing for a distant star system. More children would be born among the stars, raised in safety under the protection of human military power. Webb thought about Sarah Chun, about her dream of helping to build colonies in space. In a way, her dream had come true. Every new human settlement was built on the foundation of her sacrifice. Every child who grew up free from the fear of alien aggression lived because of her death. The galaxy had learned the true meaning of human nature. They were peaceful explorers who wanted nothing more than to raise their children and build a better future. But they were also utterly ruthless in defense of those children. The Empire had learned that lesson too late. In the command center on Luna, Admiral Harrison reviewed the daily reports from across human space. 200 human worlds now thrived under the protection of the Galactic Security Force. Trade flourished between species that had once been enemies. Scientific advances accelerated as former Imperial research was shared freely. But Harrison never forgot the price of peace. On his desk sat a small photograph of Sarah Chun, taken from the New Haven Colony records. A bright smile reminded him every day why the human military remained vigilant. A young officer approached with a datapad. "Sir, the quarterly security assessment is complete. All sectors remain stable." Harrison nodded. "Any signs of military buildup by the independent worlds?" "No, sir. If anything, most species are reducing their military forces. They seem to prefer letting us handle galactic security." Harrison understood. It was easier to let humanity bear the burden of enforcement than to risk triggering human retaliation. The galaxy had seen what happened to those who threatened human children. The lesson would not be forgotten. "Maintain current patrol schedules," Harrison ordered. "And remind all ships of Protocol 7. "Yes, sir." Protocol 7 was simple. Any threat to civilian populations would be met with immediate and overwhelming force. The Empire had killed one human child and paid with their entire civilization. The galaxy remembered that exchange rate. As night fell over Luna, Harrison looked out at the stars. Somewhere among them, Sarah Chun's dream continued. Human children grew up safe and free, protected by the most powerful military force in galactic history. Her death had been the seed from which galactic peace had grown. The Empire was gone. The galaxy was safe. And humanity would never again allow innocence to pay the price for political ambition. The stars belonged to all species now, but they were guarded by those who remembered a little girl's final words and had sworn to ensure no other child would ever speak them.